Dear Freedom Writer, had I committed suicide, I would have been dead 3 years to the day of writing this. My gravestone would have turned old with the wear and tear of bitter Midwest winters. My mama always said that the most selfish thing I could do was commit suicide. You would just be passing your pain on to your whole family, she would say with fear in her eyes. Hearing those words, the scorching heat of indignance would start at the top of my head and reach all the way down to my toes. I would want to say something, anything, to tell her I was the same boy she knew just a few years ago. But I learned to swallow a big gulp of survival, and I wouldn't respond to her. I wanted to tell her the truth, that the voices made me want to do the cutting. The voices started in 7th grade, when I first saw the most beautiful girl I had ever seen in the hallway of my junior high. Even though she never spoke to me, I always carried a part of her with me. Other voices came and went along the way, but the beautiful girl was always in the dark corners of my mind. I loved her unconditionally, but her admonishments were always in my head. "Just do it, Alex," said the beautiful girl as I held a knife to my throat. "Just cut and you'll be free." I raised the half-inch blade above my head and plunged it into my stomach. Realizing what I had done, I pulled the knife out in fear, as blood flowed out of me like lava of an erupting volcano. Within an instant, regret consumed my body, and I fell to my knees in shock. As I let out a primal scream, the beautiful girl was no more. On my second day in the adolescent psychiatric ward, I was in day old scrubs, since the staff was afraid I would strangle myself while changing. The medical staff didn't realize that I couldn't have hurt myself because my freshly stitched wound hurt too much. As I sat, disgusted with myself, a tall, angular woman walked in the room. "Who told you to stab yourself?" she asked in a monotone voice. "A girl," I responded. "Are you aware that she will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law?" My mind was whirling in circles. I began to stumble over my words. "Can you confirm that she said that to you?" "No." "Yes." "It's complicated. In my head she told me too." Without changing her expression, the woman announced, "I am going to recommend you be admitted to an institution." My room in the institution consisted of 4 black walls and a steel, knobless door that locked from the outside. There were 2 security cameras in the corners of the room. I had to request to use the bathroom, and even then sentinels stood outside the door. Although I was never out of sight of a camera or a nurse, I experienced deafening loneliness. Nobody could see or hear how much pain I was in, although tears washed down my face like raindrops in a storm. I spent much of my time replaying the events that landed me there. I thought of the beautiful girl, and in those dark moments, I came to realize how she had seduced me. Don't you think we are like to star-crossed lovers, like I am Juliet to your Romeo? Then, after I had done her bidding, she left me. Covered in blood, I had shouted, "Where are you?" The world had spun 100 miles an hour round me, but she did not return. My Juliet had lied to me. She had been what I thought was a trusted friend, but she had betrayed that trust. My mind had betrayed me. I didn't try to conjure her in the hospital, as I was afraid more terrible things would happen. Buried in my thoughts, I wondered how I was supposed to move forward when each day in the institution passed so slowly and painfully. Every day started with routine questioning. "Are you feeling suicidal?" the doctor would ask, seemingly bored. "No." "Doctor, homicidal?" What had they put in my chart? I wondered, to make him ask that question. No, doctor, he told me I would continue to be on unit restriction. On the fourth day, a doctor checked my physical wounds, although the knife came only a couple of centimeters from my intestine. I had not had any treatment for my wound since my admission. The constant pain in my abdomen made movement difficult, and lying around contributed to the mental anguish of my imprisonment. The pain that I felt competed with the emotional wounds I relived every day. Unfortunately, my psychological wounds would have as little attention as my physical wounds. Afraid of where my mind would take me, I tried not to wonder how another resident had gotten a fresh bruise on her face. I overheard the nurses joking about the bruise, and adrenaline coursed through my veins. I grabbed a pencil and, clutching it angrily in my fists, pointed it at the nurses, yelling for them to stop. Two of the nurses grabbed my arms. Another nurse came from behind and shoved my head into my chest. Then the three escorted me to a padded room. My captors closed and locked the door. I was once again alone with my pain. "Hello?" I echoed. No response. Hey, I heard the beautiful girl's voice say. "Don't you ever talk to me again," I rebutted. Another familiar voice diverted me. I turned my head to the door and saw the tall, detached doctor. "Am I safe to come into the room with you?" "Of course. I never plan to hurt anyone. There is something you need to understand." Her voice was a cold, hard stone. "You don't hear voices. You never have, and you never will. You have acted unruly, suicidal, and now homicidal. You are a liar, and you will not leave until you realize what you are. My official file said I was an attention seeker and did not hear voices or see hallucinations. Not only was I falsely judged, I was routinely ridiculed by staff and punished for insubordination. The frustration I felt toward my captors fueled my feelings of helplessness. As I fought for my sanity, I became a muted voice who had trouble finding myself in a violent storm of distrust. Eventually, I realized that the only way out of the institution was to play their game. I tried quieting the terror I had lived with for 6 months by giving in to the idea that I was what they said I was. I told the doctors what they wanted to hear and did what they wanted me to do. After perfecting my performance, I was deemed cured. I was released to the world without a clue as to how to live in it. Although I had not actually taken my life, a part of me died in the institution. I lost faith in myself and in the system. How could what I went through be called treatment? Thankfully, free from dehumanizing detention, I realized that I still needed help, and I sought true treatment from a psychiatrist who properly diagnosed me and put me on medications that have changed my life. I came to realize that I am not broken, but the system is. Wasn't it the institution's job to help me heal? I know that others have been helped by institutional placement, but there must be a better way to help people who suffer as I did. I am still haunted by the trauma from that time, but now the voice in my head tells me that I am worthy and life is worth living. Sincerely, not broken.